This is VOA News. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey. Police in Kazakhstan said on Thursday dozens were killed trying to storm government buildings as a Moscow-led military alliance dispatched troops to help deal with mounting unrest. Long seen as one of the most stable of the ex-Soviet republics of Central Asia, energy-rich Kazakhstan is facing its biggest crisis in decades after days of protests over rising fuel prices escalated into widespread unrest. Under increasing pressure, the president appealed overnight to the Russia-dominated Collective Security Treaty Organization, which includes 5 other ex-Soviet states, to combat what he called terrorist groups that had, quote, received extensive training abroad. Within hours, the alliance said the first troops had been sent, including Russian paratroopers and military units from the other CSTO members in its first major joint action since founding in 1999. North Korea has successfully tested a hypersonic missile, state media reported Thursday, in the first major weapons test by the nuclear-armed nation this year. This was the second reported test of what Pyongyang claimed was hypersonic gliding missiles as it pursues the sophisticated technology despite international sanctions and condemnation. Hypersonic missiles move far faster and are more agile than standard ones, making them much harder for missile defense systems on which the United States is spending billions to intercept. In the decade since Kim Jong-un took power, his country has made rapid progress in its military technology at the cost of international sanctions. This is VOA News. Firefighters have left South Africa's parliament complex and handed over responsibility for it to police 4 days after a major blaze destroyed the main chamber of the country's national legislature, authorities said Thursday. A man suspected of starting Sunday's fire was arrested and has appeared in court on charges of housebreaking, theft, arson, and other laws in South Africa that restricts access to government buildings. The suspect also was in possession of an explosive device, prosecutors said. Authorities declined to speculate on the man's possible motives and have said it's too early to say if the fire was an intentional attack on the seat of South Africa's democracy. He was kept in custody ahead of a bail hearing. The fire broke out on Sunday morning. It gutted the main chamber of the National Assembly building. In all, 300 firefighters worked for over 71 hours to fully contain the fire, Parliament said. Africa's top public health officials said on Thursday severe lockdowns were no longer the best way to contain COVID-19, praising South Africa for adopting that approach when responding to its latest infection wave driven by the Omicron variant. The director of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said, quote, the period where we use severe lockdowns as a tool is over. We should actually be looking at how we use public health and social measures more carefully in a balanced way as the vaccination increases. South Africa experienced a steep rise in COVID-19 infections from late November, around the time it alerted the world to Omicron, with new infections peaking in mid-December at an all-time record. But new cases have since fallen back, and the government did not resort to strict restrictions as it did in previous infection waves, given the signs of the bulk of Omicron infections had been mild. U.S. President Joe Biden will accuse his predecessor, Donald Trump, of posing a continuing threat to democracy on Thursday, the anniversary of the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters who tried to overturn his election defeat. Windows have been repaired and lawmakers and staff have returned to work, but Biden, his fellow Democrats, and a few of the former president's fellow Republicans warned the damage he did before the riot lingers on. Trump continues to falsely claim his loss was the result of widespread fraud. 4 people died in the hours-long chaos, while 1 police officer died the day after battling rioters and 4 later died by suicide. Around 140 police officers were injured. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey, VOA News.
Music.